Immersion is very important because it's the natural evolution of visual media. Whether it's a photograph, whether it's TV, whether it's your cell phone, everything has been flat. The quest for immersion in a visual medium is just very simply try to reproduce the natural way you're experiencing the natural world, except in the digital form.
The New Reality, a look at the future of consumer technology. With your host, Poppy Crum.
Hi, I'm Poppy Crum. I'm a neuroscientist and a technologist. I focus on developing technologies that enhance how we experience the world and interact with each other. There's a trust that comes when technology is interacting with you in the way that you interact with the world. When you move from a two-dimensional image to something that has more dimensionality, maybe it has depth, maybe it moves with you, you're tapping into what our brain is looking for, what our brain wants to feel. Your body reacts, your brain reacts. You notice details about an individual or about an object that you otherwise wouldn't. You think differently about that object, increasing the immersiveness of what is displayed to you in virtual communication, in a video game, in how we look at images and pictures of our family. It brings a number of things. In communication, it makes me more engaged. That lowers my stress levels, might reduce my cognitive load as well. So how hard my brain's having to work to understand or to stay focused. Both of those things, having more natural behaviors, having images that are more realistic in 3 dimensions also helps with that. It also allows me to have richer emotions virtually, which increases my engagement. One company that's pushing the limits of immersion in consumer technology is Silicon Valley's Leia.
We create products around what we call this new medium 3D Lightfield that is creating a sense of immersion out of any mobile device or automotive screen. It's the natural evolution of visual media. If you think, we started 200 years ago with still photos, then we added color, motion, always wanting for more life, more realism out of the visuals. Put simply, the most natural and comfortable way to experience 3D on a display. Yeah, so Leia is specializing in mobile products. We think mobile is very important because you get to interact with your mobile device as opposed to, for example, a television set. So we've been focusing on cell phones, on tablets, and on automotive display. Incidentally, we think as the car as just a big cell phone. Right? It's the same type of content you're interacting with your display as well. We launched recently the Lume Pad, which is a 10.8-inch tablet running full Android. The entirety of the Google ecosystem, Android ecosystem, and on top of that, you have the Leia ecosystem, which lets you play games in 3D, watch movies in 3D, take pictures in 3D, share, create, enjoy. All of that through the lens of that new Lightfield medium. The whole technology behind Leia started actually at HP Labs, right, and took probably over 10 years to develop. Yeah, I was actually fortunate to lead that effort at HP. It was a breakthrough in nanotechnology and nano design, so we had to literally invent new physics to create the 3D image. Leia's technology uses nanotechnology that is inside the display. So the technology completely disappears. Much more precise control over what light can do, and ultimately just a more comfortable experience. It's going to be milder than what you see at the movie theater, but it's going to be so comfortable that you can actually look at it for hours, right? So that's how I would kind of qualify the difference. Slightly less depth that what you're used to with the glasses, but a lot more comfortable, especially in the long run. It is exactly like a magic window, right? The way we quantify, the way we articulate the value of Lightfield is precisely by creating engagement. I can go to a hotel, I can go to a retail store, I can go to an educator, and this is essentially what the Lightfield is doing for them. It's main KPI is engagement, And engagement in turns means more sales, means better learning, and translating each of the vertical appropriately. But it's all about engagement. Yeah, so take the example of retail, or the application of Lightfield in retail, especially luxury retail. Because on the Lightfield screen, you are going to reproduce not only the depths, but also the way that light is going to reflect off the surfaces. You're going to get a feel, a literal feel for the textures, the materials, and you're going to be able to represent the luxury good in all of its beauty. This is literally, in representing all of these light effects that contribute to the brain's understanding of what the surface is made of. This is something that makes you connect, makes you want to engage, and makes you want, ultimately to buy, right? And that's the main KPI for the e-commerce. Another area would be education, right? And we all know with the pandemic, we've all had, kids at home trying to fight, for them to get focused, engaged, on their homework or the classes, that they're following through Zoom. Being able to get a sense of presence that the Lightfield medium offers you is going to give you much more emotional connection to the person. It's going to bring you closer. It's going to make you want to connect and engage. Learning geometry or biology or physics, through three-dimensional assets, translate directly into positive feelings for the learned material, and ultimately test results, right? Because that's what parents care about. So the same way that the telepresence was so important in education, right? It's going to be equally important, in medical. Having a Lightfield display in medical training gives you a much more lifelike experience, and this is something again that is going to be more memorable. And which is going to be important not only to, let's say, prepare for a surgery or an intervention, but also to communicate with patients. Being able to have the 3D imagery somehow inspires more confidence, in the competence, of the doctor that you're facing, in the tools, in the equipment that they are having. It feels more high tech, and in the end, is going to promote a feeling of security and confidence. So for the doctor-patient communication is also going to be very important. The technology is half nanotechnology and half AI. The nanotechnology definitely gives the differentiating factor and new possibilities in terms of creating the 3D effect. But you need also to be able to be accessible and be compatible with all the body of content that is out there. You don't want to have to recreate everything from scratch. Today, thanks to advances in computer vision, you don't have to get content with 3D, inside, with 3D information. You can start from any regular 2D picture or 2D video and still get the beautiful effect on the Lightfield display. And this is a trend which is going to accelerate. Most flagship cell phone, in 2021, have a depth recording capability. The cell phone makers use the depth to create stylistic effects. For example, they're going to blur the background, portrait mode, for example. There's so much more that you can do with depth, right? On the right medium, you can break from, away from the confines of the flat screen and give content, so much more life. And this is where the artificial intelligence, the computer vision comes in. So it's as important as the hardware. And when they play together, right, at the same level, they're both, advanced enough that they can support the ecosystem. This is how we win, and this is the entire mission of the company, is developing both of these threads at the same time. I think any screen should go immersive. Any screen should have the potential to, at a whim, just summon that third dimension.
We're looking at all areas of compute. We're looking at how we can deliver compute more efficiently. We've been using things like video conferencing on PC devices and tablet devices, and the intimacy between two parties talking needs to be improved. So there's lots of areas where we can improve things like eye focus. For instance, I'm looking at a camera now, and I could be looking at my own picture or your picture, but I'm not always looking at the camera directly. So there are algorithms that they are using to run on the hardware to refocus the eyes so it looks like I'm looking at the camera rather than looking at the screen or looking at your picture. There's more and more AI that's running on the processor. There'll be more dedicated machine learning that's running on dedicated processors. So we're looking at how we can more efficiently run on the CPU, and also in the future develop dedicated hardware to run those workloads on compute elements developed on ARM. I think we've got the opportunities around 2D and 3D viewing. Certainly a lot of the cameras on phones can use 3D recording and have more depth perception, so we can use that technology to improve the image or the video stream and make it appear more 3D-like and more realistic. So we can bring together things like cameras, how we use certain algorithms to improve the stability of an image. There are certainly areas where we can take some of these immersive workloads and try to optimize them for performance and efficiency. I think there are lots of opportunities for us to improve the immersive experience on PC and tablet devices in the future.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you in the next episode.